All right, welcome back to the pod. Today I have Jeff Schreifels. He is the founder and principal of Veritus Group, and his team empowers nonprofits worldwide to transform their mid and major gifts through relationship driven and analytically backed strategies. Jeff, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me.
One of the things that I love doing like these pre-interview shows, just because I get more insight about like what Jeff is about. The really cool thing that I want to dive into, Jeff.
Okay.
You've been doing this for how many years now? Like
38.
over 38 years. You don't really have a true competitor yet in the services game. Yet you're open sourcing literally all your processes. Walk me through that.
Yeah. So very early on in when we started, actually, I've been in fundraising for 38 years, but Veritus has been around for 16 years. When we first started Veritus, we said, whatever we know about all of this work, we want to write about it, talk about it, and give it away. So initially, we created this blog and we just wrote about all the different, what major gifts should be about. And we just gave away all of our secrets. How are we successful with major gift officers? And we just wrote about that. And then we created white papers. And eventually that turned into a book. We've written 2 books, and you could just read our books. And if you wanted to, you could create your own mid and major gift program or enhance it from everything we've already written or have podcasted about or did webinars about. You have it, it's available. But we also knew that if we gave it as everything away, that some of it would come back. For us, it's kind of a law of the universe. The more you give, the more that comes back to you. And it did. People started calling us saying, hey, I read this and it was really intriguing and we need help.
That's pretty cool because I like that fact. I mean, the more you give out, but it's the best sale in the world. It's like there's so much to do. Like if I read your material, so much to do. I'm so overwhelmed. The best sale in the world is like, hey, do you want me to do it for you?
Yeah.
And it's not even a sale. It's just like, hey, let's just take it off your load and support you. Help me understand a little bit more about the difference between mid and major gifts and what you actually mean by that.
Yeah. So every nonprofit hopefully has some kind of a donor base. In that donor base, depending on the size of the organization, are mid and major gift donors. A major donor, let's just say, could be 10,000 cum and above per year. Everyone who's giving at that level and above could be considered a major. If you were a university, you'd probably say it's 50,000 or even 100,000 and above. And mid-level is typically around the 1,000 to 9,999 group. That's typically, but for smaller organizations, a mid-level donor could be 250 to 999, and a major gift could be 1,000 and above. So it really depends on the organization's size and how long they've been in business, essentially. But that's kind of what we mean by mid and major. And if you're a major gift officer, you would have no more than 150 donors in a portfolio that you're working. Mid-level, you'd have somewhere around 600 donors in a mid-level portfolio.
Yeah, so their revenue strategy is pretty much to get the funds to be able to provide the work. A lot of the things that you mentioned in the brand ethos is around principled. What is truth that works here? You've been doing this. I mean, the company's 16 years, but you've been doing it over 35 years. Walk me through what are the principles that you know to work, because it's if we extract this and we look at this from a very high level, the art of showing value, having other people place that value in transacting in the gift of dollars here. It's the same thing that happens at sales, regardless if you're not a nonprofit and you're selling services or you're selling products. It's the same act. So I really want to dive into those principles because I think that'll transcend also industries, nonprofit, for profit. But I'd love to get your story because you've done this internationally too.
Yeah. The big principle is this: for everywhere around major gifts and mid-level, is that the ultimate thing that a mid-level or a major gift officer is trying to do is figure out the passions and interests of the donor and relate it to all the programs and projects that that organization has and bringing it together. So they're the bridge between that donor and their desire to change the world and all the programs you have at your nonprofit that are doing just that. And your job is to figure out how to put that together. And so that means you're trying to build a relationship with those donors to understand what are their passions and interests? Why do they have them? What led them in their life to have those passions and interests so that you can accurately look at everything you're doing with your nonprofit and put it together. That really is the overlying principle of all of that. And that transcends culture, it transcends country, languages, everything. That is the key to all of it. And, it's a classic sales approach too, right? A good salesperson is trying to figure out their customer and what their desires are and their product. And what is it within that product that's going to bring them value?
Completely agree, and I know it sounds super simple, but the art of doing that,
Yes.
processing that, actually running it, because you can't have 20 meetings with a donor for one initial gift, just like in a sales process. I mean, you might, but that's also inefficient. How have you found to operational? Because when you work with different teams, obviously different capacities, different donor bases, different funding amounts. What are usually the first couple of handful of things, maybe two or three things you look at to operationalize that ethos of
Yeah.
let's focus on what they care
Yeah.
about
Well,
and matching?
yeah, I'll walk you through what we call the Veritus way, which operationalizes everything about that whole thing about being the bridge between the donor and the need. So what we do is we start out, we look at the or organization's data. The data tells us a story of how are they treating their donors. And you can look at that data over the last 5 years and look at what we call value attrition. So donor gives 5 years ago, let's say $10,000. What are they giving today? And
Hmm.
we'll look at every donor that has given over a certain amount that they would describe as a major donor and see how those donors are behaving. And typically what we see is like 40 to 60% in value attrition. So if 5 years ago they were giving 10,000, now they're only giving 4,000.
Hmm.
You do that with, hundreds of donors, that is millions of dollars that are going away. And the fact is that most nonprofits don't even know that's happening
Yeah.
because new donors keep coming in every year and mask the behavior of the donors the year before. So they may be
Yeah. So
growing
it's like,
bottom line, but all these donors are going off. And when we expose that, they had no idea. So looking at data is the first step. And then for us, once they say, hey, we need your help, we help them establish donor pools, meaning a donor who has qualified by their giving as a major gift donor. Let's just say it's 10,000 above. We'll look at all the donors that have given 10,000 above in the last 2 years, let's say. They are not put into a portfolio until we qualify them. So that's the first thing.
hmm,
All donors in a portfolio that we work with are qualified, meaning that the donor wants the relationship with us. Okay.
how do you do that?
There's a whole process that we go through. There's 7 to 9 steps that actually we got
Wow.
from classic sales where you're trying to have the opportunity for a donor to respond to you saying positively, "Yes, I do want you to send me update reports. I do want to visit." All of those kind of things. But once they're
Mm.
qualified, they're put into a portfolio. We tier the donors A, B, and C, no more than 150, A, B, and C. We put a revenue goal for every donor and we cash flow that so that we all know what's expected every month. And then there's a strategic plan attached to every donor that where we're going to go with them for the whole next 12 months. So that plan, so in a sense, the major gift officer knows exactly what they're doing every day with all of their donors. That
Yeah.
gives them the freedom to be able to build those relationships because they now are not going all over the place. They're not distracted. They know exactly what they're doing. So that structure allows them to have the freedom to actually build those relationships. And then we work with them to make sure that they actually work their plan. That's
Yeah, the
the
accountability and
that's
the
the
execution.
structure for them.
Do you think the attrition is there's a lot of parallels here, obviously, with the work that in the business world, not in the profit side. I know the only difference I think is like the tax code. I think the operations usually are the same. It's an emotional sale too.
Yeah.
But when you do you think it's awareness when the attrition happens? Do you think it's mostly, oh, I forgot about you, or you never stayed in touch with me, or I never felt connection? Is it an awareness thing, or is it mostly like, no, they didn't feel that they were important or taken care of?
It's all of that. But the number one
It's all that.
reasons why donors either stop giving or give less year over year, and this is proven out survey after survey of donors for years, the number one reason is that donors don't know what their gift did. In other words, they gave this
Mm.
gift and no one reported back the impact of that gift,
What it actually did.
what it actually did. And so donors find other places to give that do that. This is the number one thing that nonprofits fail at. They don't report back on the impact, or they don't, first of all, they don't thank them properly. Then they don't
Mm.
report back on the impact. And they're generally not servicing those donors well. They don't look at donors as part of their mission. And
Mm.
if a nonprofit actually looked at donors as part of their mission, they would realize we have a responsibility to that donor to find joy in their giving. And if you had that ethos, that philosophy, you would change how the infrastructure of your organization so that program teams really did have a way to report back that impact. And they saw the value in it. A lot of times program people think fundraising is just a necessary evil part of the nonprofit.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Okay? But we want to have a full culture of philanthropy within our organization so that everyone understands the role, the valuable role that donors have in making that mission happen.
Yeah. They pretty much are part of the mission. And
Yeah,
one of the things too is that when I work with teams is whoever, again, buyer, donor, they have to see themselves in the end outcome.
that's
And if they
right.
don't see themselves, then they're never going to buy. They're never going to take action. So it's the same thing here. I have to see what my gift actually did so I can see part of who I am through that gift because it's an emotional thing.
It's
Everything that we do is we're seeking an emotion.
yeah.
Um, so that's a really interesting parallel though. It sounds like you think deeply around ethos and like the things that your company stands for, the thing that, you know, people at the nonprofits, like the fundraising or the staff members, some of the ethos. What are some of those core ethos that you operate by internally as a company? I'm curious.
Well, we're driven by one, making sure that every donor will experience the most possible joy and satisfaction through their giving. And
Hmm.
then we're driven by that is we'll reach as many fundraisers as possible with the Veritus way overall. But internally, we want to create a culture at Veritus where the people that work with us find meaningful employment and joy in their work. And so, we want to have employees that love what they do. We want to have organizations that are equipped with the right way to do fundraising. And then finally, that those donors will also find joy in their giving. That's what drives us. And we want to reach as many people in the world with that because we truly believe this is the right way to do fundraising, to build those relationships. In fact, we don't believe fundraising is anything about the money. It's not really about the
Hmm.
money. It's about building authentic relationships. The money follows. If you do that well and build those relationships, if you really are truly intent in helping the donor find joy in their giving, the money will follow. We see it all the time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say interesting because this is another parallel to you gave away all your information and the money will follow. What are some other like meta meta ethoses that you live by? Because this is a principle. This is the thing that I love about these
Yeah.
conversations. Is like there's principles that you knowingly or unknowingly follow that I think we can all learn from. But so that's the key thing: give, and then it'll come back to you. What are other things that you consciously or subconsciously like do to operate? Because I mean, 16 years, but 38 years doing it. I mean, this is a real proven
Yeah.
method. So what
Well, yeah,
else?
I think what I refer to it as the Veritus way, which is the structure.
Yeah.
This if you give people the right structure to work within, boundaries, they are actually more creative and free.
Yeah.
Because you give them a boundary in a place and a container in a sense, and within that, they can find enormous creativity. And when you talk to a fundraiser that goes and starts developing their work using our structure, they first kind of push up against it. They're like, oh, I want to be able to do this and I want to try these donors. And no, you're going to work within this framework. And then once they get into it, like a year later, they go through it and they realize they've exceeded their goals with their donors and all this great stuff happens. Then they're like, wow, you know what? I was really against doing it this way, but I actually realize I'm a much better fundraiser if I have work within a structure and I have someone holding me accountable and keeping me focused. And so that's the thing. The structure actually lets you be more creative.
It creates the opportunity. It's also
Yeah.
like the not sure if you read or heard the study of like children in playgrounds. If there's no fence, they play at the very center. But if there is a fence, they actually all play to the very edges of the fence, so they have more space.
Yes.
Just because you put a fence there,
Same
uh,
principle. There you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
same principle there.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. Well, Jeff, what year we're end of year now, leading into the new year. What are some of the things that you and the team are looking to expand into or continue doing, or new things?
We are so we have in 2016 we started we call our Veritus Group Academy, which is our online training platform. So what we wanted to do is how do we get the Veritus way into the hands of most fundraisers all over that can't afford consulting? Well, let's put everything we've learned into training and online training, and we can price it in a way that everyone could afford it. And so that is something we're always trying to expand. And right now we're putting in different languages, Spanish, Italian, and it's amazing how people are taking it, signing up for courses because people are really hungry on how to do this relationship-based fundraising really well. And so that's something we're always trying to innovate. We're out, every 3 years or so, we're updating those courses, we're doing new things. We're now going to be expanding in different languages. And then on the consulting coaching side, where we're really working with fundraisers one-on-one internationally, this year, like we doubled in size. Next year, we're doubling again. And so
No way.
what we found is that typically Europe has been behind the US in fundraising strategy techniques, probably about 15 to 20 years behind. And so
Hmm.
they've caught up on the direct response side, when you're sending out mail or email and you're
Oh
trying.
yeah.
So they've caught up on that and they're really doing well on that. What they haven't really done well is the relationship building side. And so
Hmm.
like this summer I spoke at the Italian fundraising festival and the Spanish one in Madrid. And it's just amazing how this is where they want to go. This is what they're hungry for. And so
Yeah,
that's why we're seeing revenue for us double because the number of
that's
clients that are
incredible.
now realizing we've got to do this work is growing more and more.
Do you think one of the things that I'm seeing on my end, a lot of one of the circles in the space that I'm in is a lot of heavy tech go to market, and I think there's a lot of jadedness and regurgitation from all the AI outreach and the fake looking like relationship, and a lot of the old school principle-based sales approaches are happening again, like they're rebounding where it's like, oh, you should actually grab that coffee with that. Like logical
Yeah.
things that you and I would be like, well,
Yes.
that's kind of obvious, but I'm just putting it out there that that's one of the things I'm seeing. Are you kind of seeing the same thing? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
we're yearning more for that relationship communal base as a culture because you're seeing this across multiple cultures.
Yes. So I look at AI as a gift for
Yeah.
fundraisers because if it can help them make them more efficient, take care of menial tasks, help them know their donors better, help them get out things to their donors quicker, that's all really good because at the end of the day, what we want to do is have meaningful connections with donors. And that
Mm.
real and a donor that's going to give a 6, 7, 8-figure gift is going to want that connection. They want to trust the organization, and I really feel it's got to come from a human being. So I think I think donors will always want that connection. They'll want a connection with a major gift officer or a mid-level officer who's really the representative of that organization. They're going to need that human connection. Now, all the other stuff that organizations are using with AI, great. I mean, that
Yeah.
will make their job much easier.
Yeah, but cross culturally, are you seeing more of a yearning for a relationship, like from the different countries
Oh,
that you're in and the
definitely.
different groups that
Yes.
you're working?
Yes. See,
Yeah, because
that's
I'm
the key.
sensing that too, even
So
in the online
they've done a
communities.
really great job overseas of taking our direct response stuff, which I kind of
Yeah.
label as that's hands-off fundraising. It's all good stuff because they're building donor files and they're trying to basically cast a wide net to see how many donors they can bring in that care about that mission. So that's all good stuff. But that's all they've been doing. So they've got donors who can give $1 million gifts, yet all they're doing is sending them emails asking them for $1,000 or €1,000. They're not set up to help bring that donor through what I call the donor pipeline and making it as
Mm.
easy as possible for a donor to give to their heart's content. So in a sense, without having a mid or major gift program, they basically have told the donor, hey, this is all we're going to ask of you. Don't don't even you don't have to think about giving bigger gifts because we're never gonna ask you to.
It's
But
crazy.
now they're realizing, okay, those strategies that have worked so well for us, they're starting to get more expensive and the results are not as great. But we've got all these donors and they probably could give more if we actually reached out to them one-on-one. So
Yeah,
now
big
they're seeing
competitive
that.
advantage.
Yeah,
I
they
love it.
wanna develop those relationships now.
That is key. Jeff, for our listeners out there, where's the best place for people want to thank you for being on and also learn a little bit more about you?
Wow, they can go to our website, veritusgroup.com. There is a tab there I want everyone to check on, and that's our resource tab. That's where all of our content is. That's where all of our white papers, our blogs, our podcasts, our webinars, all of that is available to you. So take advantage of that. Especially like if you're new to this or you need some new ideas, it's all there. So please take advantage of that. You can find us on LinkedIn, um, and we'll connect there.
Wonderful. I will put those links on the show notes. Jeff, thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to get more of these podcasts, please go ahead and subscribe to wherever you're watching or listening to the pod. If you have any suggestions or questions that you want me to answer on the pod, or you have a guest that you want me to interview, please go ahead and email me all of your suggestions and questions at podcast@dogoodwork.io. That's podcast@dogoodwork.io. If you'd like to give me public feedback, you can go on Apple Podcasts, and from there, you can leave up to a 5-star review. I would greatly appreciate that. If you like more free resources where you can get my best strategies to help you increase your company's performance and scale profitably, you can get handpicked articles to propel your growth, and you can get trainings and discussions that I give freely online, as well as low cost resources such as my books and guides. You can get all of that by going to dogoodwork.io/resources. 90% of all of these resources are not behind any email opt-ins. You can get instant access by going to dogoodwork.io/resources. Now, if you'd like to accelerate your progress and shorten the gap between information and action and start seeing results in your business, let's work together to increase your company's performance and scale profitably and serve more clients without the overwhelm. You can request a free clarity call to see how we can best support you to reach your goals by going to dogoodwork.io/apply. Again, that's dogoodwork.io/apply. As always, it's an honor to be a small part in your journey. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.